she calls me back 5 minutes later. So basically, if she undercut me by 3x,
yep.
I like over by
the same amount.
Because
to know you'd come to the middle.
Yes, but and also to say to her, like, because I felt like, wait, that's crazy. How is she doing this math?
She did the low end of the math, assuming every worst case scenario. And yes, completely
100%.
Understand.
But I was like, what the shit?
Yeah,
how could she see the math and see this? This is ridiculous.
Dumb.
And if she can be ridiculous, I can be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Walking down the street, thinking about her exit, breaking down the steps so every founder gets it. She's the exit whisperer, she's opening the door. It started with a whisper, now that whisper's gonna roar. She just sold her company, and here you get the real story. Shh, you could be next. Walking down the street, thinking about her exit.
Welcome back to another episode of The Exit Whisperer. I'm Carrie Kirpin, and I am here to tell all the tales, all the tea, spill it all about exits of brilliant, successful, fantastic female founders. And my next guest is no freaking exception, okay? Stacy Stahl is a multiple exited female founder. She sold 2 businesses. Each took about 5 years from start to sale. Each were fantastically aligned in terms of like mission and type. Like they're both based on like things that are sweet and good and wonderful and delicious, I will say. I'm not going to, give it all to you up front. But I will tell you that they are in totally different industries. And that's what I think is so fascinating. So like I've always been in the services space, but I think it's so interesting to watch someone who in this case went from like a media company to a product company. And maybe something else coming up soon. Take a listen. Welcome, Stacy, to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here all the way from St. Louis, coming live to our brand new studio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so I'm obsessed with your story for many reasons. But my arc, when I'm thinking about you, is 2 businesses, each with a 5-year timeline.
Yep.
Each successfully sold.
Yes.
And to me, that's it.
Yeah.
That's a freaking bee's knees. So let's start. Can we start with how he asked?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the
Feels
story.
like eons ago, but we'll start there.
You got to start. We got to go back to your early days.
Yes.
Baby Stacy,
yes.
starting how he asked.
I still look like a baby, but I am certainly not. No.
You do look like a baby now, for real.
No. When I was 23, one of my first friends got engaged, and everybody wanted to know about it because she was quite cool. And I happened to be really close with her, so people were asking me, how do you ask? How do you ask? I want to see the ring, everything. It was so gossipy. It felt like I was holding the keys to this exclusive story. And so I had this thought that there should be a place for couples to share their proposal stories online and share photos and videos. And I know this seems normal right now, but this was almost 15 years ago where people were only writing on Facebook walls.
Yep.
There was like maybe you upload photos from a trip you went on, but no one was doing long form stories anywhere. So we had this platform for couples to share their proposal stories, and a lot of those stories were very viral in nature. Women wanted to see themselves in the proposal, send it to their partners, and say like, "This is the ring I want. This is the proposal I want." So it caught a lot of fire. And then when Instagram did come out, we became, I like to say, an early influencer. Not me, but the business.
It's funny. You said a couple things there that reminded me of my own story, which is we had a sponsored wedding on a baseball field. Yes. Okay. So most people know this story if they're listening to the Exit Whisperer. But I always tell it, and I'm like, and people covered us, and we exchanged goods for promoting them. And
So
it's like, like an influencer? Like now it's not that cool. But like back then, this was unheard of.
100%. I think we hit like 500,000 followers on Instagram in the first year it was around.
And amazing.
And I think a lot of people thought like it was me, but it was never me. It was always about the couples. No one knew who I was.
Right.
So I had no say in this or no voice in this. We had this amazing social following. The content was super viral. Our brand was so well loved. And I always like to tell this story. So again, I was 23 when I started the site. I was sitting in my then boyfriend, now husband, in his apartment, telling him the idea. And he was like, well, go for it. Go buy the domain. I was like, okay, great. So I log on to GoDaddy.com like we do, and I typed in how he asked, and it was available. And I literally said, the Knot will totally buy this one day. Mark my word. That was when I was 23. It was just an idea. Me and my boyfriend pepping each other up. And then 5 years later, the Knot bought it.
I love the youthful enthusiasm of that 23-year-old.
Yes.
Like the go for it-ness of it. Because like when you're young, you don't really even have anything to lose. Like you said. And for your foresight to get there, that the knot would one day buy it. It's almost like you manifested it.
I know. I think I did.
You might have manifested
right?
it. How did it actually come to be? So I get that this comes out. It's interesting. It's in a time where things get picked up on Instagram. It starts going viral. I see all of that. How does it get to the point where the knot acquires it?
Yeah, good question. Well, so first I'll say I always like to relate that story of that the knot will buy this to a moment that Jim Carrey always talks about. He wrote himself a $10 million check before he even got his first acting gig. And then obviously over the years was able to cash his own check because he'd earned it, And so that Jim Carrey moment is what I call mine. And it's something that I love to tell other founders and entrepreneurs to do, to dream big and see the end goal so that it keeps you motivated. And just like you're saying, keeps you young and, youthful with it and excitable and like anything's possible, and it will. And I think that conviction can really help because it's a journey of up and down all the time.
Oof, I love that. The image of the $10 million check is hardcore. Same way I could picture your voice saying, I'm going to sell to the knot one day. It's the vision. It's the equivalent of the vision board.
And that helped me uphold my vision as I went in my day. So I'll tell you the next story. So my husband worked at Google at the time, and he was at a gala. And he's sitting around the table with a bunch of Googlers, and someone said to him, dude, you look like Stibe. And Stibe is a man's last name. And Greg was like, who is Stibe? And like, you don't know Stibe? He's so cool. He used to work here, but now he runs this wedding company. And so Greg was like, oh, what wedding company? They said The Knot. And of course, my husband's like, firing all cylinders here, light bulb. And so he comes home and he was like, guess what? Like everyone on my team was telling me that I am just like Mike Stibe. And now he's the CEO of The Knot. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, okay, crazy, but where's my intro? Right. That's really cute, but where's my intro?
Cute story. Yeah. Let's make something happen.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, yeah, obviously. And so the next day he goes back to work and he gets me connected with Mike. His name was at the time. He's no longer the CEO, but he was. And I walk into his office, this like super confident, sprightly 25-year-old, told him the story of, a couple years ago when I started the site, I had this vision.
You told him the vision.
Oh, yeah, I told him the vision.
How does he react?
Let's enchant, let's tell people what is going to happen. People follow directions. I mean, if you give them a vision, they want to follow it. If you show the light, they will come, And so, he laughed and I was like, I'm not ready yet. I mean, I'm just building, so calm down, but yeah.
These are not baby exits either. It's, when you look at your collective nature of your exits, you're looking at multiple millions. Like it's unbelievable that you're able to walk in to The Knot and say, hey, I had this dream that you would buy us. You have this good product. How does the conversation go from let's plant this idea with Stibe?
Sure.
And then to we've closed, here we go, The Knot has acquired us.
Yeah. So in that meeting, we talked about all the synergies that we had. Their parent company, they had the Knot, the Nest, and the Bump. So they had all these audiences on this life cycle. They never had a precursor audience. They never had the pre-engaged audience. And so that was something unique that How He Asked had. And so, they had these advertisers that there was a lot of overlap. They were looking for placements that were around the engagement and not just wedding planning. And so we tested some ad rev share partnerships, some content partnerships. We did some fun things together. And at a certain point, I think, they kind of said, our team loves this, but they're not all in because there's no incentive on their end, And so honestly, it was a little bit of a shit or get off the pot moment. Yes. And so I remember the CFO called me, this woman, this very, very strong and scary woman called me. She's like, all right, well, we think this is going good, but would you be interested in selling the business? I think it would be a lot better if we just owned the entire, and I was like, okay. That was that. I mean, I had a lot of moments where I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not ready. I don't know. But I just kept, carrying on. And so that was that.
Did you feel like because they were on your vision board, your mental vision, And because they were the game in town, like
Yes.
that's who
Yeah.
we would think of before you
sure.
even know anything. Did it put it in a way, like, did you think about ever going to alternative acquirers, or was it like that you knew? Because sometimes, like, I had a vision when I built the social agency and I was working on like women-owned stuff. I was like, I'm going to go to Hello Sunshine. Of course, I did not ever reach out, did not ever look for a connect, did not ever do any of it at all. And I wish I did.
Yeah.
But if I did, one thing I might have felt was like, oh my God, I'm so happy that what I want wants me.
Yeah.
And would it have put me at a negotiating disadvantage? I wonder how you handled that.
Yeah, interesting. So I think that how he asked we had tangible things like revenue and traffic to the site and a number of followers. So we had a lot of but a lot of our intangibles were brand value, that it was a bit celebrity to be featured on how he asked.
It's kind of like the Gossip Girl of wedding proposals. Yeah, totally.
And so we had a lot of brand value that if I went to, let's just say, a company that just wanted eyeballs on websites because they wanted more places to place ads, we would not have gotten the same value. They would have just put us into a calculation like any other website that has traffic going to it. This is again 15 years ago, so different metrics that we're basing businesses off of. But then it was just how much traffic do you have and how much money can we make off of that traffic? Well, for me, with the brand value and our Instagram and the personality behind it, I had done a lot of honestly like TV commercials and things that showed us in the light of being like the proposal expert. Yeah. And so they were going to pay the highest value because of that. And so I never thought that it wasn't going to work. I will say that the first offer I got was 3 times less than what I got.
How did you get the intangibles? Because that's what makes the difference, right? It's like numbers are numbers, traffic is traffic. Sure. Intangibles are what's going to increase the value from offer 1 to offer 3.
Yep.
How did you manage to negotiate up?
So first of all, the CFO, she was a woman. I have mad respect for her. She was, super tough. A bulldog,
brilliant.
scared at all these things, and I was this little 25-year-old. Oh, yes. And I was this little 25-year-old, like, I can do this, or I guess I was 27 at the time. Yeah. And, it wasn't the easiest process in the world, but she taught me so much. I remember I reached out to her in the pandemic, and which is way past our acquisition and the terms. Yep. And, in my free time being bored, I thanked her because it was one of the greatest lessons, that being that frightening to me was one of the greatest lessons I've had, But anyways, so I think she knew what she was doing. She wanted to lowball me. And, I basically said to her, listen, we had a very high margin business. I'm talking like 85% margins. Yes. So I was paying myself tons of cash as this 27-year-old. And so the number that she put in front of me, I was like, well, listen, I'm just going to make that in the next year and a half. Yes. And I love this business, so that's just not going to work. And that was true. And so it didn't look that appealing to me.
But that's a very good tip, because you made the case of what you would make anyway.
Yeah.
And why it wouldn't make sense. She can't argue with that,
Totally.
no matter how brilliant of a financial wizard.
Yes.
And, that's math.
Yeah, yeah.
And
also it's what I said something to her. I said, the business is only worth what I am willing to sell it. So if you want the business, I'm going to essentially name what you have to buy me out of, right? And so I'll never forget. She gives me the number and calls, and I was kind of in shock because I was like, "This is so not it." I thought we had such great conversations. This is so far off, and so I was like, "You know what? I think we gotta. This isn't it." I said, "I think we're playing in 2 different ball games here."
Good. Were you terrified when you said it?
Yes, but I was pretty convicted. This business was doing really good for me.
Yes,
I was doing great. I was like, I don't think this is it, I use the term, we're on 2 different playing fields.
Yes.
So we're not going to negotiate in the same field if we're not even on the same, And so I was like, but thank you, because, maybe one day, but this is a no, And so she calls me back 5 minutes later. She was like, listen. Where do you need to be? From my perspective, this is what the company's worth.
Yep.
but tell me where you want to be and I'll present it to the leadership team. So basically, if she undercut me by 3x, I like over by
the same amount,
because
to know you'd come to the middle.
Yes, and also to say to her, like, because I felt like, wait, that's crazy. How is she doing this math?
Yeah.
Well, and the truth is, she probably had other math, but she lowballed it,
right?
Because that's how you
do it. She did the low end of the math, assuming every worst case scenario, and yes, completely
100%.
Understand.
And so, but I was like, what the shit?
Yeah.
How could she see the math and see this? This is ridiculous.
Dumb.
And if she can be ridiculous, I can be ridiculous, right? So if I'm like, she's ridiculous, but I'll still talk to her, why can't she be going to her leadership team saying, this girl's crazy, she wants X, Y, and Z for her business? It's the same thing. And so I just went for it. And so eventually we met generally in the middle. And it was great. I had just gotten married and then sold the business 6 months later. And, I had a 2-year commitment to stay there. There weren't any metrics attached to it. It was just what, I call like a warm body.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was great. And then I started my second company.
How quickly after? That's what I want to know.
Like the day after.
Okay. Do you think we're wired that way? Like to start right again? Or do you think the break, like I never took a break. I talk about this a lot. And I think I'm just wired that way.
Yeah, so I'm in a break right now.
You're in a break. I need to hear about how the break is going. You're going to have to tell me about how the break is going.
I'm a gardener now.
You're a gardener? Are you enjoying the gardening?
Yes, I love it.
I need to garden.
It's so fun. Honestly, I just do flowers. Like cut flowers, super easy. There's like a handful that are just
I'm going to take
cut and grow again.
Stacey, you're inspiring me. Okay, so now you're in a break, but before then you jumped right in. What do you think?
Yeah, not on purpose. I just had a good idea.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. This is what happened to me, so I feel better. I feel validated.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sweeter Card, tell me.
I think you're doing a good thing.
Thank you. Well, I saw the market. There was a space for this. 100%. It was so needed, and I was like, I got to do it.
Yeah, and I've had conversations in like similar to the Whisper Group in my life.
Yes.
For just fragmented conversations of how often women have no idea how to sell a business.
No idea.
People calling me all the time. And so I love that you're like, I'm going to be the woman to help these women and build a structure.
Build as a scale
and
allow people like you to do it easily, have the structure to do it, get paid doing it, have women get value from doing it. Like it's all full circle.
100%. And one of my favorite quotes is to know the path ahead, ask those coming back, or to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. And so I love that, and I hope you do it pretty close to when someone exits, because there's a lot of learnings right there, a lot of like raw feelings that you have during a negotiation. Yes. And so to be able to capture that, I think is really important. But
okay, so Sweeter Cards, you launch.
I just had the idea and I was like, okay, gotta do it. And it just happened to be back to back. I also was pregnant my first year of Sweeter Cards. So that was interesting. Oh, and COVID that year. So it was a little bit of a wild. Yeah. But that's fine. It's always going to be wild. So you just got to pick your wild,
So first tell us what this business was.
So Sweeter Cards, it's a greeting card and chocolate bar all in one. So if you look at the greeting card aisle, everything's $8.99. It's just paper. Yep. You get the greeting card, you throw it away.
Yep.
Then you look at the gift market and there's nothing under $15 that isn't complete crap and doesn't feel like it was just like a placeholder or something. Like, oh, look, I look thoughtful.
Yes.
And so, I, big chocolate fan. Every time I go to the grocery store, I get chocolate. And so I was getting a card for someone, and a chocolate bar for myself. And I was standing in the checkout line, and honestly, the size of it fit, like everything about it was like, this is so cute. This could be one little gift, together. And then you've got the card and something inside, so it's not wasteful. Yeah. And then you don't have to go buy a plastic cheap $15 toy. All of this for under $10. Like, this sounds great. And so I was like, well, where would I find a chocolatier, And so I Googled, chocolate manufacturers in the U.S., and there happened to be one in my own backyard in St. Louis. I didn't know because I'm not from St. Louis originally, but they're like famous. So now whenever I tell people like, oh, this is who we use for our chocolate, they're like, obviously you did. I'm like, well, I didn't know. I thought, I walk into the chocolatier's office and I'm like, this is my idea. Can I buy some chocolate for you? He was so excited, loved the concept, loved my spirit, and so sold me my first 5,000 chocolate bars. I went out and tried to sell them and sold through those. So I bought 10,000 and sold through those, and I bought 20,000, right? And it just grew and grew and grew. So that was that. And one thing I like to say is, I always knew I'd start a second business. When this idea hit, it filled criteria that I'd set for myself. So my first business was intangible, right? It was a digital It was a website, my Instagram. It's nothing hard. Nothing, people were paying me for like the potential for an advertisement to do something. Back then, the tracking link was not like today. You did not get,
They were paying for audience, for eyeballs.
Exactly.
You had an eyeball business.
Yeah. And so, great. But there was something about it that I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this type of business. Plus, I wanted to give myself a 180-degree challenge. Like I was like, you know what? Am I one hit wonder?
I think this is great.
Do I want to start from the beginning per se? And all of my answers were yes. Yes, I want something new. Yes, I want something I don't know. Yes, I want to prove that I can do many things and not just rinse and repeat something that and so when I had the idea, I had many ideas in the meantime, but when I had the idea and it was a physical good, it still was in the vein of being sweet and sentimental and thoughtful.
I see the tie, but it's a product business.
For sure.
Now you're going into product.
Now I'm like, oh, how do I warehouse this? Gosh, how do I ship chocolate? That's not fun.
Right.
How do I sell to grocery stores? Entirely different business. So now I'm sitting with this knowledge that I created for myself that is digital, physical, retail, and I love that I've built and know these different facets of business, an industry, and so that's something that I love. And so when I think about my next business, since we're talking about taking a break or not, I am certainly taking a break. I've been helping other women and men. I love helping people see things that they might not.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm taking a break. But when I build criteria for my next business, I will probably apply the same sort of like start from scratch, start from zero.
And going into a different space.
Yeah.
So, okay. So with this product business,
yes,
you never had a product business before.
Yeah.
You have to get distribution or ship DTC. Like, how do you figure that all out? Are you just literally like Googling all of this, or are you? What are you doing to figure it out?
Well, now it would be ChatGPT.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, but at the time, Google. Honestly, I was like, okay, I have this idea. It's a greeting card and a chocolate bar, so I need to find a greeting card manufacturer and a chocolate manufacturer. Right? I simplified it. Like it's not rocket science, and I think for both businesses that was a key. The simplicity of the businesses, the focus of the businesses. I could have done a million things all day, but what I did was one thing really well. Every single operation between the two businesses was lean and easy, high margin because of that low cost structure. I kept it lean and healthy. And I built things brick by brick. So for both businesses, I never took investment. It was all bootstrapped. I think for my first business, I might have had to buy, let's say, $75,000 worth of inventory for the first year. And after 10 months, I paid myself back. And from then I was just using profit from the business to grow it. So both businesses were fairly easy to enter. And so I think, my first vision for Sweeter Cards was I wanted to be in every greeting card aisle in the country. That's what I set for myself.
Okay.
And two things happened. One, COVID that year. And so nobody was buying anything for their stores other than toilet paper and necessities.
Right.
So that was like,
so there goes that retail strategy.
I'm this really motivated girl with this really cute idea. Buy my product, and everyone was like, "Girl, you're not toilet paper. You're not batteries. We're not doing that." And I was like, "But people need love."
And chocolate is essential.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make the argument.
I know. I tried every angle. And then the other hurdle that I ran into was actually the greeting card aisles are owned by Hallmark and American Greetings. And so actually when you go to a grocery store, the people who are filling those aisles is a third party. It's
okay, so you discover this. What do?
You question, should you continue on with the business? Yes. And then you get an email from someone during the pandemic that says, we love this product. We saw it somewhere. Can we customize them? So at that point, I had, 15 different designs. Happy birthday, thanks so much, yada, yada. I printed 10,000 of each, so I had them on hand, so they cost 40 cents each to print, right? Because I printed in bulk. And someone says, can we do 100? And I write to them, sure. So then I call my printer, and I was like, all right, instead of 40,000, I need 100. And he's like, okay, they'll be $8 each just to print. And I was like, oh, what happened to my 40 cents?
Yeah, where's that?
Wait a minute.
That?
And so I'm like, oh, crap, okay. Still did the run, still fulfilled the order because I said to myself, this is intriguing. This is feedback. There's an
opportunity
answer.
here.
Yeah, this is an answer to my hurdles. Yeah. And so I worked to build that side of the business. And to be honest, about 18 months in or 2 years in, given the pandemic, given like I went hard into retail and it didn't work, given I had a newborn at that time, I felt like I started from scratch when I decided to do custom. And I started working with companies directly, corporate companies directly. But then there's this whole promotional products industry.
An entire industry. We talked about this, PPAI and all the promotional products. There's the distributors and then there's the manufacturers. And I know the whole thing. And then, also I love swag.
Yeah,
so I order things all the time.
For sure.
So when I order things, I would think that a chocolate and a card that's custom might be really appealing and a nice sweet gift to send to someone.
There you go. You can be a writer for us. We had like the really awesome thing is, so because it opened like a card, it actually also opened like a brochure.
Yeah.
And the customizable real estate was insane. So you could have a conference where, it says it's sweet to have you. And on the inside, there's statistics about how many women do or don't exit, what the potential value is, right?
My goodness.
Good
I need to order this immediately.
I know. I'll connect you with our buyer.
Okay, you have to.
The person who acquired us. They're a great company. But anyway, so discovered the promotional products industry and just rose pretty quickly there. I think that industry has a lot of just older generations in it. And so like just the fact that I was under the age of 60 was like, wow, look at this young bright star.
Yes,
it's true.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so, and I loved what I did. I loved the components of my business. Obviously, we partnered with that family-owned chocolatier in St. Louis. We employed adults with disabilities. They stuffed the chocolate into the cards for me. Our printer was local in St. Louis as well. So I'm not from St. Louis, but my husband is. And we moved there for a job he had. So I'm not from St. Louis. I never intended to build this company locally. It wasn't one of my tenants, but here I was, everything was in my backyard and I absolutely loved every vendor that we partnered with. And so.
How did you decide to sell?
Well, I was hitting that 5-year mark.
Okay.
Like
right at the 5 year, you're like, okay, I'm ready to tackle the next category.
Yes.
Okay.
No, for both businesses and my next whatever I do, I'm the type of person who has an idea and does it yesterday. I see that risk as fun. I believe in myself. I believe in my ability to craft a great story and great product and great story. And so that's my skill set. Getting momentum around things and a large organization where I've got 30 people under me, 200 people under me, like not really sure that's for me.
Yep.
And so I think I know my niche. I know my space. My husband and I, we have 2 kids now as well, but we travel a lot.
80 countries.
Yeah, we've been to 80 countries.
Fun fact.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so I always loved having that flexibility. And so at a certain point, it's like, okay, are you going to grow to the point where you have to be there every day? You have to be the visionary that leads a larger team.
Yeah.
No, that's not me. And I knew that. And I know that about myself. And so I always knew that I wanted to sell my businesses. And that's something I'm very confident telling, when I was speaking to my buyer, both buyers, yes, my vision was always to sell it. I want to take the risk out of R&D for companies, find a proven idea and a product that's unique and has more value than I think people would initially think. And then you can have it.
Right. You build it up. You take it as far as you want to go. And then you can, it's what I loved about your businesses is they're and even the way you talk about what might be next, it's so stackable, right? It's like, and we talk about this.
Yes.
We talk about, you can devote your whole life to raising funds and saying, I'm going to build a $50, $100 million business.
Yes.
And then you end up working forever with no guarantee that it's there and losing a lot of equity in the process.
Maybe not paying yourself that much along the way.
Maybe not paying yourself along the way.
Yeah.
And here you are building these businesses that are smaller than these behemoths, but you're paying yourself a great salary.
Yep.
You're selling them and you're starting anew every 5 years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a pretty interesting path.
Burnout is not, I have never faced burnout. I have faced ups and downs. I have faced fatigue, but I have never been like dragged through the ringer for no reason. Yeah. So because, the first couple years of any business, you're likely not going to pay yourself too much. Sure. But for me, both like that 3-year mark was like, great. things are golden. I feel great about this. So there was always like, oh, this is hard work, but there's value in it.
Yeah.
You have to create that value as you go. That's something that's really important to me. You know, my husband and I travel like 4 months out of the year. We're on the road, even with our toddlers. We were just in Asia for 2.5 months. You know, we're going away again for 3.5 weeks over Christmas. Again, you know, I mean, we're always away. And so I found joy along the way in business ownership. You know, I used to struggle with comparing my business to these, as you said, like tech behemoths.
Yeah.
And man, did I feel small when
Yep.
I did that. And I made this realization about how toxic and just unnecessary it is for us to be comparing ourselves, because we're never comparing day one to day one.
That's right.
We're never comparing our first year to her first year. We're comparing our first 2 years with their 10 years.
Yep.
We never, even when we're consuming social media.
You're also comparing your entire experience where you know every behind the scenes, every fault, every
Yep.
flaw to someone's highlight reel.
For sure.
You're looking at a headline
For sure.
that says this company sold for $1 gazillion
Yes.
and this company's growing at this rate.
Yeah.
And like you don't see what goes on behind the scenes.
Totally.
Or how much they're actually making.
Yeah.
Or anything else.
Yeah. And I would argue that a lot of those cases, it's, you know, there's the underbelly of the
Yeah.
business might not have as high integrity
That's
as
right.
at least I
That's
would
right.
want my business to
That's
have.
right.
And so I knew that by building my businesses, I don't even want to say slowly, not slow, just healthfully.
With intention.
And with intention, and knowing the pace was going to be profitable for my family. For, like, first and foremost, I'm doing these for my family.
Yeah. And there's
But-
nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No.
That's what
I mean,
it
and if
should-
anyone
it
tells you
should be.
otherwise-
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
It should be for you and your family.
For sure.
It should be in order to make sure that you guys have the life that you want
Yeah.
and the
And if I
experiences
live the
that you
life I want,
Yes.
and you live the life you want,
Yes.
and they live the life they want, right? It
Mm-hmm.
is all of our responsibilities to be driven and to carry others, but carry others while you're driving, not
Yes.
while you're not serving others. And I think,
Yes.
like I said before, we employed adults with disabilities in my first business. That was a joy to me, knowing that, you know, people would come to work and have a purpose. They'd love to be around the chocolate. They'd love to be, you know, motivated by these cute cards and, you know, the funness and the simplicity of it all. I loved that piece of the business. But if I didn't have a business that was making money, that was healthy and profitable, that I was going to work on, they wouldn't be coming into work to do that.
Exactly.
You know? So,
correct. Like it has to be more than just for the sake of altruism.
Yes.
It
Yes.
has to be a business.
Right.
And I think that that's just a really important piece of the puzzle. When you sold Sweeter Cards, did you sell it to like a corporate gifting group? What was the...
I sold it to a food gift company within the promotional products industry.
fantastic.
They were in the industry for 45 years.
Fantastic. So it was the perfect type of
100%.
acquirer.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And
Yeah.
I'm so curious. I love this interview so much. I love it. And I'm curious if you're talking to the women who are listening now. I know you talk to a lot of founders, male, female, everybody. You're talking to somebody who has a lot of ideas,
Yeah.
like you. How do you know which ideas to stick and which ideas to say, you know, like you can't go with every idea. Like, how do you know what's going to stick?
Yeah.
And that's my first question. And then I have another one. But
I think it's a really good question. I think that there's two phases of testing ideas. There's one when you don't have a business. And you have an idea. And in that case, I always think just do the first step. Like you said before, just
Yep.
Google it, see
Yep.
what it feels like. Did
Yep.
that feel easy? Did that feel like, oh, actually, click. If you click to the next step, keep going. Try to find another click and keep going. So I think in the initial phases, just looking for that momentum and feeling it. And when you feel friction, listen to it as well. And so in the first phase of it, I think you're just looking for those like easy clicks that make you feel like, okay. I don't think businesses should be complicated. I don't think they should be hard. And I'm talking about smaller businesses,
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
Sure, complexity matters
No.
for... Yeah,
I think
OpenAI needs to be complex.
I think you said what you said, and I think it's right.
Yes. And so if something is not easy, if there is some crazy barrier or something would double my cost if I made that decision, I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to make sure that everything I'm seeing feels like,
I could do that.
That's good.
That's work.
Yeah.
That works.
Exactly. And but then the next phase is when you do have a business and you have a product that's doing okay, whether it's a service or a physical product we're talking, and you want more and you want to grow. And then you start to divert focus to other things and you lose the core of your initial business. That is when I would caution you away from thinking you must grow, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of times acquirers want clarity in a business.
They do.
want something to be simple.
Yeah.
They
They're
don't want
lazy.
it to be.
They want to be able to say, okay, I understand this. This can make money.
Yeah.
I know how I could continue it on. It has to be simple.
Simple.
And
I think,
overgrowth, I
yes.
think. Really, the simplicity of how it can be sustained and how it can continue to make money
Exactly.
is more important in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people would say like, oh, I'm not big enough.
No.
Are we doing enough? Are we unique enough? If you are doing something good, and this is why I lead with profit, honestly, and health. If you are doing something good, that means profit, that means there's money, that means it's a healthy company, that means it's lean. Like you have a sellable business.
That's right.
It does not need to be. In fact, when you think of larger businesses, they have different divisions.
Right.
And so I always say I want to be one new division for a large company.
Yep.
I am not going to change their entire business. Am
That's
I going
right.
to be able to add millions of dollars of revenue easily for them? Yeah, and I'm going to tell that story. Oh, look, I built this. We chugged along with me and a handful of my team pushing it. You've got 10 times as many people, which theoretically means you could probably push it 10 times as fast. You should do it, And I think it doesn't sound like, what all the Wall Street bankers would say of like how you merge and acquire businesses and but I think it's been very successful for me. I'll say going back to your point about comparison, I always also say, you're talking about the highlight reel.
Yes.
But I think people are also the way in which we consume media and other people's highlight reel.
Yes.
Physically, we're on the couch, bored,
Yep.
not working,
Yep.
not with our kids, not gardening,
Yep.
not whatever.
Bed
We're-
rotting.
Right.
You're
Bed
just
rotting.
sitting there.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
you're seeing people's moments. So not only is a highlight reel, but
You're
you're
not
also
seeing
consuming
it while you're doing your good shit.
Exactly. I'm not
You're-
on stage
you're not
giving a
there,
talk
right.
being like, 1 minute, let me check my social media, see what
check
everyone else is
everyone's
doing and
That's
compare
such
them.
a good point.
Yeah.
That I've never discussed before.
It's crazy. And so
You're
I think
right.
you have to tell yourself this mindset. And I want you to bed rot,
Yes.
bed
You
rot
should.
all day.
You should, but just recognize.
I am bed rotting
Yeah.
and they're on
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
I am,
Yes,
and so
exactly.
just know the difference.
And eventually I'll be on stage and I'm doing my
that's
own
fine,
great
yeah.
stuff too.
Right. Or I was on stage yesterday, now I'm
create
bed
your
rotting
own
because of
highlight
it.
reel and
Exactly.
people will be bed rotting looking at you. So it's exactly the same. Stacy, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're a treasure. I love your message. And
you.
truly a gift to our audience and to me and to the Whisper Group.
Thank you for having me. You are so inspiring. I love your confidence and the way that you are able to distill information so that it's attainable for others is so amazing and important. And I think a lot of women could benefit from understanding how you do it and why you do it and do it themselves.
And how we do it.
Yes, how we
How
do
we
it.
all
How
do
we
it.
do
How
it.
we all do it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that you want to share your success with others. I mean, to be able to feel the fruits of your labor and live the fruits of your labor, we both know how deeply grounding and satisfying that is. And I think there's two ways to go about that. To know how deeply gratifying it is and to live alone with that.
Yes.
Or to bring people into your orbit, see what maybe you accomplished. And it's hard. It was hard. We
Yeah.
knew it was hard. So when we see it in
Yes.
others, we can go say to them like,
Yep.
hey, let
We
me help
get
get
it.
you to the next step.
Yes.
Be here with me in
Yes.
this fruitful era
Yes.
because I do
Yes.
not want to be alone.
Yes, exactly. And we are all together in
Yes.
it. I feel it for sure.